Hello, hello, and welcome to Pique My Interest, a podcast dedicated to creativity. My name is Scoob Decker, and I am an artist, and your host. PMI is an exploration in meeting some incredible artists, learning about their craft and exploring what makes them create. This next guest is larger than life. She is a performer who you might have seen as a fly girl on Living Color or as Rafiki in The Lion King on Broadway. I have had the honor to meet Deidre Lang through the national tour of Hairspray, where she plays Miss Motormouth Maybelle and stuns the crowd every night with her catchy rhymes in Big Blonde and Beautiful to her powerful soul that drives the number I Know Where I've Been. This episode dives into her creation process, and even though she has a ton of experience with dance, acting, and singing, she is still a student. Her biggest advice is that creation flows when you think big and prepare. Her biggest advice is that creation flows when you think big and prepare. This episode was recorded on March 27th in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I hope you can look up their work and your interest is piqued. I hope you are having a grand day, and please enjoy this week's episode I've titled Manifest and Prepare. Hello, and welcome to Pique My Interest. I am currently in Edmonton, Alberta, sitting with the Motormouth Maybelle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Excellent.
Thank you for having me.
Of course! Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, well, my name is Deidre Lang. I'm currently in Hairspray, the musical, on tour, and I play the role of Motormouth Maybelle, and I'm just an actress, trying to do her thing.
And you say you're a performer. What's your specialty within performing?
So I started out as a dancer, but I'm a little bit older now, so I'm not dancing right now. So I would say, you know how people say the slashes, like singer, dancer, actress, like that? Mm-hmm. I would put myself right now, singer first, actress second, and dancer last, because I can still move. I'm not taking any dance classes, but I can still move and work out. Yeah.
I see it every night. What makes your work a little different than others that also perform?
I don't know how it's different. I mean, I maybe just my approach to what I'm doing now, because I'm a little bit older. I still study. I feel like even though I've been doing this for a while, I still feel like I can learn. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So my approach to everything is like trying to up myself, like get better and better.
Always a student.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I stay a student.
And I can tell you how your work is different than others is because I get to watch you every night.
Really?
And you have that 11 o'clock number, and you just bring down the house every night. And
why, thank you.
No, it's true. I like to compare it to that old speaker commercial where the person's sitting there and their hair's blowing back and the tie's flying in the wind. When Deidre Lang is belting out her face, it is bringing down the house.
I think it's from like my training, because I am old school, and I know like the people that I worked with back in the day, everything was about full out, no marking. You know what I mean? It's a little bit different, the school from back then. I mean, now from back then, it was like, I will throw my shoe at you if you don't do it right. You'll get beat down, but you became the best performer ever. Yeah. So that's where I come from. It's like I can't go out there and just do it half. It has to be full every time.
And you do it full every time.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to watch.
Thank you.
Speaking about where you're from, what is your background? Where are you from? Do you have any education in performing?
Yeah, I'm originally from New Jersey. I grew up in Plainfield, New Jersey. I didn't go to college, but I did go to Alvin Ailey dance. So after I graduated, I went to Alvin Ailey instead, because I could have gone to a musical theater school, or I could have gone to like college, but I decided to go straight to New York. Mm-hmm. I was ready to go straight to New York. So I started out as a dancer, but I could always sing. I could sing too. So as I was studying in New York, I was also going on auditions, and I ended up getting a job and then left the school and just started working at 18.
Mm-hmm.
So
you never went back.
Never went back.
Yeah.
Just started working. I never had to take a day job.
Oh.
So from the age of 18 until now, I never. Well, that's a lie. I did take a day job during the pandemic, but that's a whole other story.
We don't have to talk about that.
Yeah.
What about performing piqued your interest? What really is your upbringing that turned you into a creator?
So I think my family, they all have talent, but they never. They grew up with talent. They could sing, they could dance. My grandfather used to tap dance. He tap danced he used to tell us the story about the Apollo. He went to the Apollo and tap danced, and he met an older singer, and she was like, "You're so good." So my family, they all had talent, but they never, ever really did anything with it. So I feel like my mom put us in dance lessons and gave us singing lessons and all that stuff because they couldn't do it. They didn't get to do it. So they were kind of living vicariously through us. So that's kind of like my first, getting into the business. And I have this one story. When I was younger, I was like 7, 8. Back in the day, when we didn't have all the social media and all that kind of stuff, it was just a TV with a couple of channels. Late at night, Fred Astaire movies would come on, and Gene Kelly and all the old movie musicals. And I would ask my mother to wake me up at 11 o'clock, because it was always 11 o'clock at night. The movies would come on. So I would go to bed 7 o'clock, and then she would wake me up at 11 o'clock, and I would watch those movies. And I knew right then and there, I was like, I'm going to be in musicals. Yeah. So that was kind of like how I started out.
And you have been in a few musicals.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your history and what you've done on the stage?
Yeah, so I can, so right out of high school, my first show, well, like I was saying, I went to Alvin Ailey, and I was in New York, and I was like, but I'm a singer, I'm an actress. So I was looking, and back in the day, we used to have this paper called The Backstage. You remember The Backstage? It was a paper, because you're young. Shut up.
I'm sorry.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. That's right. We didn't even have internet back then. I'm so old, we didn't have internet. So I used to look in a Backstage paper, and I saw an audition for a show called Bubbling Brown Sugar. So I left Alvin Ailey, and I went and auditioned for that show, and I booked it, and I left Alvin Ailey, and my first show was a show called Bubbling Brown Sugar, and I did it in Europe. That ran like 6 months. Then when I came back, I went and worked at Disney World. And a lot of my friends that I did Bubbling Brown Sugar, they were like, "Why are you going to an amusement park?" And I was like, "Well, because it's fun. I like Disney." So I worked at Disney World for a little bit, and then I got Cats, the musical. My next show was Cats, the third bus and truck of Cats, and I was a swing. And I understudied a bunch of parts, including Grisabella. I think I was like the youngest Grisabella that they ever put on that stage. I was only like 19, 20 at that time. So after that show, then I went and I did 2 shows that traveled the country with Maurice Hines. Maurice Hines is the brother of Gregory Hines. He passed away recently, but he was one of my biggest fans. He was like, "Deidre, I know you're going to do something great one day." He used to always tell me that. So I did 2 shows with him. One of those shows was called Satchmo. Satchmo was one of them, and we went to New Orleans, and I worked with Harry Connick Jr. in that one. He was a kid, and he was the musical director's kind of protege. So he kind of helped, like a musical assistant. So I met him there, did that show, and then we did a show called Harlem Suite that went to LA. And that's how I got to LA. So I did that show in LA. After that show closed, I stayed in LA and started auditioning, and that's when I got In Living Color. I used to be a fly girl in this show called on Fox TV's In Living Color with Keenan Ivory Wayans and Jim Carrey and all those guys. So I was about 21 when I got that show. So I stayed in LA for, I think we did 4 seasons of that show. And then when that show went off the air, I went back to my Broadway roots. So that's when I started doing Broadway shows. So I did Tommy on Broadway and on the road. I did Ragtime on Broadway and on the road. I did Hairspray. And that was in 2003. I did the national tour. So I was on the first national tour as a Dynamite.
Right.
And I understudied for Motormouth. Yes, I did that. And then what else? What other shows? Oh, I went to Australia and I did Smokey Joe's Cafe.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So that was cool. What else? Did Lion King.
I was going to say, speaking of Disney, I feel like there's a big one in there.
Yeah, Lion King came later. That was like my show before I got married and had kids. Yeah. But before that, actually, I did Ragtime. Then I did Ragtime. After Ragtime, I did Lion King on Broadway, Lion King on the road, Lion King in Las Vegas. So I was just a Lion King kid.
If you know anything about the show, you know that Rafiki starts it all off with the big old belting at the start.
Singonya!
That was Miss Deidre Lang.
Yes, I understudied that role.
Give an arm and a leg to have seen that.
Yeah.
Speaking of Broadway, that's usually what an actor defines success as.
Okay.
What is success for you? Do you consider yourself successful? And what got you succeeding in your craft?
Success to me in this business is just working. It doesn't matter if it's Broadway, on tour, regional, just being able to work in your craft to me is a blessing. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter where it is. Broadway is a great thing to strive for, but you can do Broadway caliber anywhere. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
that's the beauty of theater. It's everywhere.
Exactly.
You just got to find it.
You do.
All right, let's get into your creation process a little bit. How do you start your creation process? How do you build a character?
Okay. So like for me, depending on if I know what I'm about to start to work on, like if there's a character that I'm looking at or a show that I'm looking at, before I even get the gig, sometimes it could be like, I don't even know if I'm going to even audition for this, but I'm like, that role is great for me. I start working on it now because I put it out there in the universe and I'm going to do that show one day. So I'll put it out there and I'll start researching. I'll start researching that character, go online and look at other people doing the role, see where I can fit in doing that role, and I'll start working on it. I'll start learning the songs, working on the scenes, whatever I can find online. So when that audition comes or that time to do that show, I'm completely prepared. Mm-hmm. Because I have a fear of getting on stage and forgetting my lines and forgetting songs. I mean, even now doing Hairspray, I have to do my lines every night. Uh-huh. I never take it for granted because if there's a time when I'm like, oh, I got this, I'm not even going to go over my lines, then I'll go out there and I'll mess up.
Of course.
So it's always like that. So that's how I like to prepare. I like to be I like to prepare years ahead of time.
Well, that's an actor's prepared.
Yeah.
That's how you are.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's kind of funny to go backstage and to see this Motormouth Maybelle talking to herself and kind of singing to herself.
Yeah.
But then you watch her go on stage and it's beautiful.
It's like you never arrive. You know what I mean? It's like a place you're getting to and you're always trying to get there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I love that.
Yeah.
What gets your creative juices flowing? What inspires you?
Well, I love nature.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I like to just, go to a park and just sit there and just take in the creation, take in nature. That inspires me to want to work hard. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just daily stuff like cooking, everything to me revolves around my craft. Mm-hmm. I can reading a book, you know what I mean? It could be something maybe acting or, self-help or whatever.
Yeah.
So that kind of inspires me.
Being a normal person.
Yeah, being normal. Yeah. Taking the time out and not making everything be about, what I do. Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's great. When you're creating, how do you overcome a creative block? It's one of the hardest things we do as artists. We run into a brick wall. Yeah. We don't know where to go. How do you approach that?
When that happens and I get frustrated and I'm feeling blockage, I have to stop. I have to let it go. If I can just let it go for a couple of days, like I was just saying, take time to travel somewhere, maybe go to a spa, go to the mountains or something like that, leave it alone. leave it alone, and then clear my mind, and then come back to it, and then see what happens,
What would you say if you were in the middle of a rehearsal process, say a 2-week rehearsal process, and you don't have time to go out into the nature and get that time for yourself? What would you do then to kind of help yourself?
Yeah. I just take time, breathe. I like to pray. I take time to myself and just center.
Sure.
And it's not that deep. Sometimes anxiety will make you have those blockages, So is that a word, blockages?
Sure.
Okay, it's my word. Blockages.
Right.
So so I'll just take the time out and just know that it's not that serious. And once I breathe and stuff like that, then I can clear my mind. And,
okay. Yeah. I love that. Just taking a deep breath.
Yes.
And just approaching it differently.
Exactly.
I do have a question about your character, Miss Motormouth Maybelle.
Yeah.
She speaks a little differently than most people on the show. She rhymes nearly everything until a certain moment where she gets very serious. How do you dig into a character's script and dialogue whose words aren't necessarily realistic?
That's a good question. I don't know. With me, like I was saying, everything's not that deep. I just do it. You know what I mean? And then I like to make it my own. Like I put a lot of myself into whatever character, like especially the Motormouth, because Motormouth has seen a lot. And for my life, I've seen a lot in this business. I've been around a long time. I don't look my age.
No, you don't. Not at all. When I found that out, I was like, no way.
Good. I don't do nothing bad. I don't smoke. I don't drink. It's like, so I don't look my age. But yeah, I just, I just put I think about what she sings about, and I put it towards my life. So that's how I kind of get her character going.
Finding the connection between Motormouth and Deidre and finding the realism within that.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. I just have a question like that around like something like Seussical, where it really is just rhyming all the time.
Right.
Or even something like Shakespeare, which doesn't quite make sense, but when you watch a performer do it well, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
You don't have to question it. And I get that when we watch your Motormouth. It's like we're not seeing somebody out there rhyming away and, have this little punchline here. It's somebody who's truly, that's who they are. And you can see that behind your eyes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I try to be realistic, even though she does rhyme and stuff. It's like, how would Deidre say this rhyming? You know what I mean? To make it really sound like that's the way somebody would talk, So, thank you.
And how can that creation process adapt or change while you're working? Obviously, you have a team with you. You have a director, you have a choreographer, you have a music director. How much does your performance change while you're creating?
Now that I've been doing this for a while, I do see that sometimes I just let myself, I don't think so much about what the lines are, and I just kind of like engulf myself in it, and it just like becomes something different.
Yeah.
And it's cool to kind of see that happening. Sometimes, because you do a show for so long, you get sometimes you get bored and you do it the same all the time. Then it's like, I could play with this a little bit and see, what else is going to happen with the character. And I'm finally getting to that point where I'm not so afraid that, I'm going to forget my lines.
Right.
Where I can kind of have fun with it.
Yeah, you can get into it and really be Motormouth.
Yes.
And let that come in. I love that. Going a little further, do you recommend going to school or taking classes to build on your craft?
Yes, if you have the opportunity to do that, to go to school, or you have the money, your parents can put you in school, I definitely think anything you can get to grow your craft, I would take it. Yeah. Like I did go to school. I went to Alvinelli. I kind of learned on the job. But I think any kind of learning experience you can get, I think you should go ahead and take it. Yeah.
Classes.
Classes. I would say college. If you can go to college and it's only a couple of years out of your life and you're young, do it. Do it and get that experience. If you can't do that, you can like stay home. And there's usually, acting classes you can take, dancing classes or vocal lessons. But I think always study. Always studying is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you say you love getting out into nature. Do you have any recommendations for other hobbies in the world of theater or performing? Maybe possibly to get you outside of the world because it is just engulfing sometimes?
Yeah. Well, I do like to work out. I like kickboxing. Actually, I don't know if you remember, there was a guy, I can't remember. Remember Taibo back in the day?
Yeah.
I used to take Taibo.
Okay.
Yeah, we used to all go there. Jennifer Lopez, all of us used to go with the guy that created Taibo. So sometimes getting like kickboxing and stuff to get your, juices flowing and get all that anger out.
Yeah.
You got that. You can do that.
We all need that sometimes.
Exactly. But yeah, working out. Maybe if you like to cook, take some cooking lessons.
Sure.
All different types of stuff.
Just finding
There's so much, just finding something else.
Alternative means to get your body moving and getting that brain juices flowing.
Yes.
I love that. In theater, we often run into criticism, and we all take that in differently. How do you handle criticism?
I take everything as constructive criticism. Because like I said, I don't think that you ever arrive. You can always get better. And you can tell if somebody is just criticizing you where they just don't like you. You know what I mean? That's different. You can like throw that out. But a lot of times if you're going to get critiques, really listen to them and fix it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If you can fix it. You can always get better. So I don't try to find the negativity in like a critique. Just go out there. You can always get better. So
you can always get better. Are there any misconceptions about your craft?
A lot of times I think people think actors are like big-headed or, think they're all that and stuff. And they also, another thing is they think that what we do is so easy, and it's not. Because we look like we're having so much fun when we do it. Yeah, I think that's a misconception that we like just think that we all have it all together, but actors, I think, have a lot of problems.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
We have a lot of problems. I mean,
and to be honest, when we're on stage doing our thing, we are having fun.
Right.
But it's the years of time, dedication, blood, sweat, and tears.
Right.
Up until that moment of seriously walking out onto that stage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as easy as people think it is. But our job is to make it look like it's easy.
Yeah.
So
everybody gets to see the Instagrams and the TikToks of the red carpets and the glamorous dresses and suits.
Yeah.
And we don't get to see the
You don't
hard
see
work.
What's going on behind the scenes, So we're good people just like everybody else, and we just trying to make a living,
Trying to do it.
Trying to make a living.
Just off the top of your head, do you have any funny or interesting stories or events that have happened within your craft?
Yeah, actually, I do have a funny story that I always tell all the kids. When I was a fly girl, I was really good friends with J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez. Mm-hmm. So I know J-Lo back in the day when she was, when we were young. So there was a time when the Fly Girls, we were supposed to be a singing group. Long story short, the girls, we kind of went our separate ways, and that didn't happen. But Jennifer came to me and she was like, Dee, do you want to, we should be, we can do a duet. You want to do a duet? You and I, since that didn't work out with the singing group, we can be a duet. So I would go to her house, we would work on songs. We were like, we're going to get this together, So we started working. Then there was one day we were back on the set and a group came, I think Blackstreet was the name of the group. And Teddy Riley, 90s singer from back in the day, R&B group, came to the show. And Jennifer came to me and she said, Dee, this is our chance. We can go talk to Teddy Riley and see if we can become a singing group and see if they'll produce us and everything. And I had been doing some thinking back in the day, and for a couple of days, and I pulled her aside. I said, Jennifer, I think that I want to go solo. So I don't think this is going to work out. She was like, oh, okay, do you want to go solo? It's like, and then the rest is history. She's a big old star, and I'm just like, that's okay though. I'm very, very happy for her. And it's like, everything's not for everybody. I feel like for me, if I would have become a R&B artist star at the time, I was very shy, very quiet. I feel like I would have gotten eaten up in that business.
Yeah.
So it's not for everybody. I'm really glad the way that my career went. Mm-hmm. But I just think that was a funny story. If I told her that story, she probably would laugh. She'd be like, D, look at me now.
It's funny. I interviewed an artist in Syracuse, and in their studio, their big factory that they stayed in, that they worked in, there was a giant disco ball hanging from the ceiling, and they said that was from J-Lo's 50th birthday party.
Oh, wow.
So, we got a reoccurring theme of J-Lo on
That's
here.
That's funny. Hey, J-Lo, if you ever
Shout
listen
out to J-Lo.
this.
What's next for the world of your craft?
The world of my craft. Well, we'll see what happens if I get another show. Mm-hmm. Doing some auditioning and stuff like that. But just to put this out there too, during the pandemic, a good friend of mine and myself, we started a business called Lang Ellis Talent Management. Oh. So we're managing a lot of kids, young youth, people that are trying to get into the business, and also some people that have gotten out of the business that we know from, from different shows and stuff that came to us and like, could you help me restart my career? So we're doing pretty good. We have about, 20 clients right now, and we're doing that. So I love that. And I just have a passion for helping other kids get to where I've gotten, and find their place in this world of show business.
Well, that's very big of you to try and share your experiences with the world and whatnot.
It's like when they make it, I feel like I'm making it.
Yeah.
And it's less pressure on myself.
And you don't have to remember the words.
Right, exactly. I don't have to be afraid of forgetting stuff. So.
Oh, and that's I haven't been put in that position, but an actor who has been on stage before, left for whatever reasons, and then coming back has got to be very difficult, challenging in itself. I assume kind of like a non-traditional student going back to school after a while.
Right.
It's probably got some bumps and brick walls that you've got to run into. So that's great. That's fantastic that you're trying to help them out.
And it's nice that they trust us, trust with their careers, So that's cool.
And what's next for you personally?
Personally, just, I don't know. I think after this tour, I want to take a nice vacation.
Yeah.
That personally, that I'm ready for a good vacation, and then find out what's next,
Start researching.
Yeah.
Where does Deidre want to go on a vacation?
Well, my daughter is about to graduate from college, so we're thinking about Hawaii.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Fun.
We're thinking about Hawaii, but I would love to go to Greece or go to Paris, do some European travel.
See the world.
Yeah.
And where can we see your work or work like it?
You probably, if you Google me, Deidre Lang, you can see some of my work. Mm-hmm. There's some like performances and stuff like that that I've done.
Do you have an Instagram?
Oh yeah, it's FlyGirlD12. Yep, at FlyGirlD12.
D12.
Yeah.
And if you want to see Deidre Lang right now, please check out Hairspray, the national tour. We're out on tour until June, and hopefully we come to a city near you so you can experience Deidre playing Miss Motormouth Maybelle. I can't thank you enough for joining me and piquing my interest. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap up?
No, except thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
This was fun.
Yeah. I do wrap up my interviews with one last question.
Okay.
If you could excel at one craft other than your own, what would you want to do?
I love real estate.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I would like to be like a real estate investor. I've always wanted to do that. I have a very entrepreneurial spirit, seeing that I started my own business and stuff. So other than performing, I love business stuff, and I love real estate. I love properties, design, interior design, all that stuff. So I would want to do that. And I know I can do that as a performer, so I'm going to be doing that, a little bit of that too.
And what was the name of your agency again?
It's Lang Ellis Talent Management. And we are on Instagram too. Lang Ellis Talent Management.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thank you to all my peekers out there. Please let me know if there are any special or unique artists or art forms you think I should explore. I am currently in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and can't wait to see where Pique My Interest takes me next. Remember, creativity comes from the heart. Push yourselves. Be kind to each other. I'm Scoob Decker, and thank you for helping me pique my interest.